friends. Had a banger going earlier. Hey, I think it's going to be a quiet one today, but that's a-okay, no problem. I want you guys to come hang out with me if you want to have fun, and if you don't want to have fun, you don't have to. My name is Crimson Clad, and this is CyberBuzz Radio. I see the kitty girl is here. Patient Zero, my staunch supporter, even though he hates half the stuff I have to say. You're a delight. And actually, given that last week you sent out a telepathic message on 5-minute delay. Absolutely. And I know because the radio has been so weird because we're on MSP waves, of course. The radio has been a little funky lately. And I know for people that like to listen on the radio that everybody ended up at all the different streaming platforms last week. So, you know, wherever you are, let's hope that you can hear it. Let's hope that you can, it's working fine today. Yeah, see, we haven't quite figured out why the radio hates me and only me. But today it wants to have a good time. And so we are going to have a good time. So for CyberBuzz today, you know, it's funny. Last week, we were talking about a bunch of different things, but we ended up talking a lot about Vancouver and what had been going on with the weather here, because of course I'd been missing for a while. And, you know, in the process of discussing all those fine things, we also started talking a little bit about things that were filmed here. We just naturally got on that topic. And so we were talking a little bit about like the X-Files, and then we were talking about how Vancouver, I'm dressed for business today. I mean, I'm not really, I just am not wearing a metal shirt for CyberBuzz, but I still got my spikes. Don't worry, I'm on brand. I'm always on brand. Yeah, so we were talking a little bit about Vancouver in general and sort of it being being a little bit of an analog for everywhere else in the world. It looks like Hollywood North. It acts like Hollywood North. But so one of the things that we talked about last week, and if you missed it, I actually did a good job and I actually managed to update the post, and I'm going to try and do this. I've been failing at it, but I will always try to do it for anybody who wants to catch a show after the fact. If you don't want to be here on time, which a lot of people don't, hey, Uncle Bonehead, then I want to be able to at least have these posts updated so you could go back, you can catch all the music, you can figure out what we talked about, you could check out all the links. That's the plan, Stans. We'll see if she actually happens, but goddammit, I'm going to make an effort. And so last week we were talking a lot about some of these sort of things that have come up around blockchain gaming, and we were using a little feud that has basically died out in the last week, but we were using a little feud between some people who were looking at Splinterlands as this dangerous child grooming digital slavery platform, and that all blockchain gaming would essentially be a way to lock children into the blockchain and, you know, do dangerous things to them. And we had a great discussion talking a little bit about KYC and what parts of like kids on the blockchain would be dangerous. Hey, Mariano, you know, i.e. the fact that children are stupid and their parents are stupid. And in general, humans make stupid decisions. And so it ended up being a really great episode. But towards the end of it, like I said, we were talking a little bit about stuff that's been filmed in Vancouver, and that got me thinking over the course of the week. And if you're in my Discord, if you're over in the Oh Hi Crim Discord, then you may have seen this, but we have a channel there for CyberBuzz, and I was, you know, thinking of like, what are movies that I like and things like that? What are some examples of places filmed in Vancouver that maybe we didn't talk about on the show? Because a lot of dystopian sci-fi is filmed here, and actually a lot of really like iconic images of cities are filmed here as well. And so, you know, I was thinking of like, what are things that fit with sort of the CyberBuzz aesthetic and that kind of idea, or that you guys, everybody would know about. And one of them, I realized a lot of people don't know this, but in the very opening sequence of Never-Ending Story, remember when the kid gets thrown in a dumpster and then ends up in the magical bookstore that starts off the whole Never-Ending Story thing? That's here in Vancouver, that dumpster. And for the longest time, you too could go down that alley and get thrown in the dumpster if you're looking for dystopian, fantastical little views of Vancouver. But no, that's not a great CyberBuzz fit. And so I brought up a couple of different movies or TV shows that you guys might remember, because X-Files was one of them. Hey, Julia. X-Files was one of them. But one of the movies that I wanted to bring up was The Sixth Day. And I shared some of this in the Discord, but I thought, okay, no, let's talk about this today because that is a topic that's pretty interesting and kind of just disappeared off the face of the planet. So that's one movie. And, you know, all of these different sort of like cool space age techno buildings. Yeah, man, it's just like the Vancouver Library, the Canada Post Mail Building, things like that. So we'll talk about that. And then there's actually, you know what? I don't know if it's that Vancouver maybe is heading towards its own dystopia, but a number of sort of ridiculous sci-fi fun stuff. Stargate, all of your Stargate, that's Vancouver. We had a soundstage here. Stargate was a darling of Vancouver for a long, long time. If you ever watched Stargate, that's a classic. And actually, even in the new sort of, the new disappointing line of things, Altered Carbon is another example of a sci-fi show that was all filmed here. And it's so funny for me because, you know, again, I'm like, oh, you know, Uncle Bonehead just leveled up in chat on a string of profanity because the radio isn't working for him. And if a string of profanity isn't worth a shot of bourbon, then what is? It's the real question. So cheers to you, my first on-stream shot of 2022. Everybody just take a moment to be happy about that, you know? Yeah, look at that. Delightful. Drink! I will. I absolutely will, sir. All right. Mm-hmm. So, today I thought we'd talk a little bit about some of these topics. I know there is some stuff going on around the Hive blockchain that people are excited about because, of course, the airdrop for the Three Speak network and Ragnarok has happened, or not the airdrop, pardon me, the snapshot for the claim drop has happened. There's lots of stuff going on. And I can see that all of the chats are connected. So I am hoping that somehow, somewhere, that people who want to be here manage to make it here and that we will see them at some point. I am so sorry. I'm trying to move one of these things off the window. My bad. Always dinging and donging right in your guys' ears. Okay, so other than that, I've got a lot of new music and I thought we would tackle some of these topics that might be interesting because, you know, one thing, Lisa G, should a sandwich be squished before being eaten? Help me settle the debate. Lisa, that has nothing to do with CyberBuzz, but I fucking love this question. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I have opinions on this. Wow, I didn't know I had opinions till right now when you asked the question. And now I'm like, yeah, I have opinions. Okay, so it depends on the bread. Bread, really important. Rye bread, sourdough, you don't squish. White bread, soft brown bread, you squish. Also, it depends on the filling. Things like peanut butter or like liquidy jam-like, jelly-like fillings, fuck yeah, squish that bad boy. Things like meats and especially things with like greens in them, lettuce, things like that still have some snap. If you squish them, you're going to lose the snap. Don't squish the lettuce ahead of time. So, sometimes squish, sometimes don't squish. I lean towards squish. It's kind of like eating ice cream with a small spoon or like pudding with a small spoon. Things with small spoons taste better. Some sandwiches when squished also taste better. I don't know where this question came from, but it's delightful. So now we have to find out. And Dudeness is saying his opinion is if it's double-decker or bigger, you squish. Okay. Good, important questions. Clay's here. Shadows Pubs jumped in. More and more people are hanging out. Kitty girl wants her buns squished. Atta girl. So I'm all for this. I'm all for squishing. Clay says you should eat a sandwich however the hell you want to eat it and fight anyone that says otherwise. Absolutely. So that is a fucking delightful question, Lisa. Oh my God. I'm so here for that. We should probably ask the guy on I Did a Thing or one of those YouTube channels where they create sort of ridiculous inventions to do things, and he can make a sandwich squishing invention. One time he did make an invention to feed himself without chewing, and it basically yeah, Yes, he just beat them with the sandwich. It actually basically was, he put a helmet on, he put a magic bullet on top of the helmet, he drilled a hole in the side of the magic bullet so that the blades were exposed, and then had a tube that comes down to his mouth, and then was trying to press on the magic bullet on his head while rattling his fucking brains out and trying to get this like slurry of disgusting into his mouth via a tube. Yeah, A++. So, I don't know, something about a sandwich squishing machine. Is a panini maker. Ah, okay, fine, kitty girl. Yeah, it already exists. All right, so a whole range of sandwich squishings. Welcome to the show. We're just getting started. People are hopping around and wandering in from all over the place. And we're being asked amazing questions to start the show. But yeah, so listen, here's where we kind of left off last week, is we were talking a little bit about dystopian stuff, and we were talking a little bit about how Vancouver is an analog for every future tech city, because it looks like a lot of US cities, but it also sometimes looks a little nicer. Also, it's way cheaper to film here. So Canadians don't really care. We walk down the street and we're like, oh yeah, they've changed all their street signs again. Oh yeah, there's a US cop car. Yes. RoboCop, the new RoboCop was filmed here. There is so much dystopian sci-fi that's filmed in Vancouver. And so I was thinking about this Arnold movie, and I tagged some of you guys who were here last week who started this conversation over in my Discord, because I thought we'd talk about this, because this movie at the time really kind of encapsulated a lot of our fears. Everybody was so concerned at the time. So let's go back, way back to the year 2000. Yes, God, you know, it doesn't feel like that was long ago. What happened? The year 2000. But here we are in 2022. Whew, let me just take a drink. Settle my nerves on that one. So 2022, in the year 2000, here in Vancouver, Arnold Schwarzenegger filmed this super cool, super weird movie called The Sixth Day. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I went and back and watched. Everybody's laughing at the Crimbo gif in chat. Maybe I'll put that up here on the screen beside me. Hey, Lamb, good to see you. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger came here to Vancouver. He was driving around in his Hummer at the time, and he was filming this movie called Sixth Day. And it came up in conversation because last week we were talking about Vancouver, where, you know, the snow usually stays on the mountains, except for right now. Snow stays on the mountains, and the city is beautiful, and it's this really interesting juxtaposition of all types of different environments and yada, yada, yada. So The Sixth Day, if you've never seen it, is this Arnold action movie. And it is about the future that awaits us if we explore cloning. And, you know, do you guys remember the year 2000? Maybe you don't. Maybe you were panicking that the entire world was going to get shut down. But those 1999, 2000, we were constantly worried about cloning. There was the sheep. There was all that other stuff. Like, that was the big future tech worry that we had. We had, you know, the computer scare was already over. Skynet, we'd already explored all that. And robots, we'd already explored all that. The Terminator days were over. Here was Arnie kind of in a movie touching on a different type of fear. Oh gosh, Shadow's Pub's supposed to get over a foot of snow tomorrow. Yeah, we sent it. You guys, we got the Arctic outflow for like a month. You guys can have it now. East Coast, enjoy. You guys are much more prepared for it. But I do hope that things go well and that you do not have extended periods of power outages in the coldest weather ever. So I'm rooting for you. So here's Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie in the 2000s is kind of like now encapsulating a new dystopian sci-fi fear that we have, and that is the fear of cloning. We've moved on. Yeah, okay, so Uncle Bonehead remembers this movie. Some of you guys might, some of you guys might not. And so we could put this on your to watch list, or at least something to talk about list, because it is interesting. We kind of forgot. Hey, Stace, thanks for joining us. We kind of forgot about this. Where did it go? Do you guys remember way back in the day, do you remember that this used to be a thing that scared us? this used to be a thing that scared us. We used to be so worried about cloning. And that was at the core of sort of turn of the century sci-fi. So if you've never heard of the delightful Sixth Day, let me try and give you a non-spoilery synopsis. And that is that Arnold Schwarzenegger is a pilot. He's in a sort of mountain tours company, which is really cool because it actually means that the entire start of the movie is these beautiful shots of the mountains around Vancouver, which is always nice to see, taking hella skiers up into the mountains and whatever. And then it kind of spirals into this. He's going to escort a very Bill Gates-like, Steve Jobs-like figure. He's going to do some flying for him. And it descends into a cloning madness where the start of the movie is his kid's pet dies and the wife asks him to go and get a clone of the dog because this is what cloning is used for in this sort of brave new world, is that, well, we don't clone people, but we do clone animals because we can take a snapshot of that animal's brain and put it in a new body and it's just like your old pet. Totally fine. We can't do it with people. That would be bad. But pets, no problem. And that sort of sets the scene for this ethical problem with cloning. And if you watch this movie, it is a lot of future tech. It's holograms. It's a bunch of stuff like that. And I know, Clay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of this as I was talking about it, but I couldn't get around it. I'm feeling for you, man. I am. I really am. But it sets this sort of ethical dilemma. And this was a big thing in the 2000s. Do you guys remember this? Dolly the sheep, and can we clone a human that would have, genetic memories? And that touched off into the Assassin's Creed franchise. If you ever played those video games, that's one of those things where if you've ever played that franchise, they talk a lot about, can you actually have genetic memory? Can the memories of your ancestors, your own memories, be tied to your DNA? Can they be used and brought forward into a new body, a different body? Can they be reawakened in somebody who's of your bloodline? It was a bunch of stuff at the start of the 2000s around cloning. And then it just disappeared. We don't care about it anymore. It just went away. It was this thing that captured our collective consciousness. We made a ton of movies. We made a ton of TV shows. A bunch of books were written. And then we just kind of thought, okay, well, nobody actually cloned anything interesting. So I'm curious to know do you guys remember that period? All of this came from movies being shot in Vancouver. But the long and the short of it is I actually do recommend you watch The Sixth Day. Some of the effects don't super hold up, but it's worth it for almost seeing two Arnolds interacting with each other. Arnold's a clone, and he's working to try and understand and take down a giant technological network of ethically bad cloning people, and if you need enough, which is my terrible Arnold, whatever, because he sounds like a gibbering artard sometimes. If you need more Arnold in your life, you should watch this movie. And it's very funny as somebody who grew up in Vancouver, to see like our library being this super high tech cloning facility, and to see, just the view, the Stanley Park seawall, actually, one of the establishing shots when the movie starts is going over that Stanley Park seawall we talked about last week, which has now actually just been crunched up into little pieces and completely destroyed. And who knows how long it's going to take to rebuild. It totally stinks. But so it's a good movie and it's worth it. So, I mean, yeah, Patient Zero and Clay are talking about sort of the ethical stuff and talking a little bit about, like, nature does this. In some ways, twins are kind of clones, aren't they? And it's true. But, I mean, that is the natural process that we try not to have too much impact on. The idea of the Sixth Day is that you, through your eyes, can have a complete picture of your brain, and that you can then upload that into another body, a body that is genetically identical to you at whatever last snapshot you took. It's weird. It's cool. And it's also kind of creepy because throughout the movie, Arnold's being chased and fighting people who literally can't die. They can die, but they come back pretty much immediately, loaded into a new body, and this hit squad of clones is after him and his clone. It's something else. But so Clay is talking about the idea of cloning and souls, and that is a pretty important thing too. But of course, yeah, Altered Carbon is a great example, and that was also filmed here, Stace. Just before you came in, I was mentioning that. Altered Carbon was filmed here in Vancouver, and it's the same sort of thing. You know, you see all these super high-tech landscapes and cool, weird, interesting buildings and gritty neon back alleys, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's just Richmond. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's filming just down the street from my house. I literally saw them on my way to work. But Altered Carbon is the same idea. Altered Carbon actually was one of the more recent returns to the idea of cloning, right? That's something else, because they took the sort of modern fears, not just of cloning, but of poverty and of access to resources around whether or not you are a wealthy elite. So if you haven't watched Altered Carbon, no big deal. But the gist of it is you have a little piece of technology lodged in your spine, and that's where your brain lives. And should your body die, you just grab that little guy, you pop him out, and you, just like a CD, you take it from one car to another. Does this date me? Is this a reference from 2000? You pop it into another player, and off you go. So the difference in a lot of cases between Altered Carbon and sort of the cloning fears around the 2000s is the exactitude. In the 2000s, we were like, we're going to clone this sheep and it's going to be exactly the same. It's going to look the same. It's going to think the same. It's going to smell the same. It's going to be exactly the same. In sort of the newer age, we've definitely, hey, Nine Claws, it's so good to see you. And it's like, the idea with Altered Carbon is a little bit different because it's not so much about the physical flesh-like cloning, but it's more around the ideas that come from, well, if I want to live forever, can I buy people? What does a body black market look like? What does, genetic engineering to create cloned bodies that look exactly the way I want, sexy and young forever, look like? What do people spiritually and morally feel like around the idea of, should we be able to live forever? Is this an abomination? There is a whole stack of stuff, and it kind of moves away from some of the cloning fears. But you're right, that's probably the newest take on this topic that has completely mesmerized us. And then it turned out that the second season was really, really bad, and it instantly died, and you never heard from it again. It's gone now. We don't alter carbon anymore. Oh, Lord. Okay, so I have a lot of music today. If you guys are cool with it, let's jam out today. Let's play some Synthwave. I'm going to go grab some links and stuff. I'm going to share some pictures of totally not Vancouver from the 6th day for you guys. And when we come back, if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, we can do that. We could talk about some Hive stuff, although granted, there's not a whole lot coming on. We are kind of moving down the stretch where we are going to be pretty soon getting into prepping for a hard fork for Half and some other things. Yay! Hi there! Dude, I don't even know how to say your name. Dude Heister? Daud Heister? Whatever. Hey. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, we're talking a little bit about Vancouver is an analog for every dystopian future tech city in the world. We're talking a little bit about cloning and how we also kind of like lost the fears that we had about cloning, or the fears that we had have evolved over time. And when we come back, we could talk about whatever you guys want, whether that is blockchain related, or we just keep on this totally meaningless chatter about sci-fi movies, because we need that some days, don't we? We do. I'm going to play you guys some music. And we started off the show with some really killer music. If you were here for the intro, I played a track by Starcadian that might be the funkiest synthwave track of all time. But I've got more stuff to play for you, so if you're cool with it, I'm cool with it. We'll do a little dance. We'll make a little love. We'll have a little CyberBuzz. And we'll kind of go from there. So I am going to play you guys to start with. I've got a couple remixes of tracks that I've played on this show before, which is always good. Thank you for clarifying, Kitty Girl. I see the chat, but I'm trying to keep us moving so at least I don't go way over. So I'm going to play you guys a track called Dance Killer by Fury Weekend. We'll start there, and we will continue on. I've got lots of stuff that I want to show you guys, and we'll have some fun here on CyberBuzz today. Here you go. It's by Fury Weekend on MSP Waves. All right, I almost didn't pause that in time. So there you go. Fury Weekend. I saw Stace has now joined us over on the Twitch. And so I'm going to throw that out there just at the start of our next little segment here. Hey, here's the deal. Yes, CyberBuzz started on MSP Waves and will always be on MSP Waves, which is, of course, a social interactive broadcasting network. It's basically a radio station with some extra jazz. And so if you ever want to come hang out and listen to some great shows on a myriad of topics, and you want to check out the full schedule, you can go to mspwaves.com. But I don't want you to be forced into any single platform. And as such, I prefer that you check out some of the great sort of crypto-centric, decentralized platforms. First, we got Vim TV, which is powered by Hive. There is Theta TV, which is very popular. I know many of you are over there today. And of course, there's also Trovo, which is the up-and-coming sort of mobile-centric streaming app. But that being said, YouTube and Twitch are also on the list. You can literally watch wherever you want. You can literally hang out wherever you want. You can participate as much as you want or little. Many of you just lurk. You just put the stream on in the background and then walk away. And that's a-okay. So I know for growth metrics, I'm supposed to send you all to one place and really push to like get the numbers up, but I don't care about that. I want you to feel comfortable, find a place that you like, and come hang out for the show and enjoy yourself whenever. So quickly in there, Patient Zero was just asking more about HAF, H-A-F, the Hive application framework. Advertising works. Yeah, I know. We'll get there someday. But so the Hive application framework is a great question. And so Kitty Girl is absolutely right. The absolute best place to kind of get the burn downs of what's been happening is to go to BlockTrade's posts. And if you want sort of a general overview of what that is, a Hive application framework, the idea is that this will build, believe it or not, the framework for apps. And so it is meant to essentially be sort of a turnkey way of kickstarting an app. Now, up to this point, if you wanted to build on the Hive blockchain, you have to learn all the libraries, you have to understand all of the connecty bits in and out of the blockchain. Hi, Leonis! You don't believe it. It's not butter. It isn't butter. It's half. Or it's me. And in that case, you know what? I would say that a large portion of me is butter, to be quite honest. And actually, speaking of butter, I have the heat dish on again. And once again, my ass is melting. 1 second. Let's just turn... Ugh. Okay. So... for my lard ass not to melt live on air, let's continue. So the Hive application framework is show us the buttery bits. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're all over the place. With the Hive application framework, the idea is that you will not have to do so much groundwork and so much foundational work, because at the end of the day, it's important that you learn some of these things and you get a lot of skills by kind of doing that preliminary stuff. It's very slow, it's very cumbersome, and it often means that you miss out on some of the best practices. It's hard to stay up to date. There are a number of reasons why building on Hive is actually pretty freaking difficult. And so when we have a solution like Hive that does make a lot of really attractive options available to, whether it is a business owner, a project manager, a tech hobbyist, a, really driven, interested developer entrepreneur, Hive should be the right answer for them, but there are some stumbling blocks. And so the Hive application framework, one of the jokes that BlockTrades likes to make, and I'm sure he'll make it himself when we have a show about this, is that the half Hive application framework is half the work done for you. But what it means is that spinning up a node and getting sort of retrieving info, which are two of the hardest things right now, because you do need very specific configurations and, really resource intensive support, becomes a lot easier, and you can get just what you need. You don't have to put together a giant node and mess with the config. You can get just what you want. You can run a very resource light setup and be able to hit the ground running. Now, Kitty Girl's saying it's kind of like Hive in a box, which is like not untrue. Oh, hey, Citizen Vulgar. Good. I see you've been hanging out for a lot of shows recently, but this might be the first one of mine that you've come to see, so I'm happy to have you. So Kitty Girl's not wrong, because what she's saying is like, you open the box, it's turnkey, there's Hive, it's yours. But I don't like using that term only because Hive in a box is a very specific term that is used around the blockchain, and it's part of Privex's server setup. And so Privex is a Hive-centric server provider here around the Hive blockchain. And one of the services that they offer is called Hive in a box. And what it means is that you do not have to build a node from scratch. You don't actually have French guy sounds. All right, very vulgar. I like it. So here's the idea, is that Hive in a box is you literally get a server, you open You open that server and you essentially start the node and go. Where, admittedly, I'm still a little uncomfortable Dockerizing Hive and the software. I'll put it out there. And an excellent top 20 would not be a baby about this. But for me, I learned from Gandalf. And I learned to build Hive from scratch, and it is cumbersome and it takes a long time. And honestly, it's kind of annoying. And in a world where blockchain tech is talking about, let's get more decentralized, you want pretty much anybody to be able to spin up a node. And Hive is not like that. Hive is still trickier. So Privex has something called Hive in a Box. Basically, you say, hey, I want a server. And they're like, cool. And they give you a server. Hive is already running on it. You pop a signing key in and you go. Bingo, bango, bongo. That's the actual Hive in a Box. But to come back around, the Hive application framework, which is upcoming and that BlockTrades' team has been working on, is basically going to be allowed to allow you to do almost the exact same thing, except for applications, not just nodes. And I promise we won't get too deep into the weeds on the Hive tech stuff today. But the reality is if you are an app developer and you want to clone over an app to Hive, or you have a great idea for a game or a front end, and you can do everything except that connecty bit safely and securely, and that's the part that you're struggling with, whether it's the resources to spin up your own node or whatever. That is the hardest part. And especially now, one of the most interesting topics and one of the most important topics that keeps coming up is that people want cross-chain applications. And Splinterlands is a great example, but Splinterlands is far from the first. And this is happening more and more and more. And it's happening more and more across layer 1s and layer 2s that are out there, specifically around Ethereum. And it's annoying because there are still gas considerations. There are still these massive amounts of people who are, working in an ecosystem that has a huge sort of vector for attack. And here's Hive, fast, free, super simple, tiered, key systems, great savings aspects for assets. There's so many things about Hive that are great for building applications, but it's too hard. So that's what half is. Half is you start running this and you basically plug in to the things you need to build your application. Way quicker, way easier. All right. So with that little sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, a little tangent out of the way, we could come back to talking about what we were talking about before we had that quick music break, or we can continue on topics that you guys want to talk about, wherever you may be watching or listening or whatever. If you have something that you guys want to talk about, throw it in the chat. We have gone from fucking squished sandwiches to server provisioning like that. We are flexible here on CyberBuzz. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But before the break, we were talking a little bit about cloning being sort of one of these topics that was very dystopian. It was very future tech, but it was scary. And right around the 2000s, it basically captured our brains. The 1990s and 80s, it was all robots. It was AI and robots. It was Skynet. It was, replicants. It was computers that could make themselves look like humans. And then we went, okay, fuck it. Skynet, we've done Skynet to death. And then we moved into the 2000s and it became, well, what if humans could clone other humans? And then we don't know which humans are clones. And does that matter? And that was a whole thing, is this ethical and moral fear of, well, if you have two clones and they truly are exactly the same, how do you know who came first? And so we were talking a little bit about the sixth day. And if you're wondering why the name of the sixth day is the sixth day, it is because, of course, it's a biblical reference. On the sixth day, God created man. And so there are some 6-day rules in this movie around cloning. And the idea is that clones, still illegal tech. And there's this sort of unspoken rule that clones and the people who are being cloned can't see each other. And of course, the idea, yes, the tattoo on the eyeball, if you go like this, because isn't this a whole anime rude thing? If you do this, for those of you just listening, you can't see, but you flip down your lower eyelid and there's actually a little marker of how many times you've been cloned, how many clones of you there exist. But the idea was, a person and a clone couldn't meet, because if they did, you would not be able to tell who was who, and they would not be able to tell who was who. And if that was the case, which one do you dispose of? Who do you kill? Can you kill a clone of a real person? The ethical sort of spiral begins. We start just circling the drain on that one. So highly recommend The Sixth Day. And yeah, if nothing else, there's a lot of pretty Vancouver in it. And sci-fi dystopian Vancouver is probably one of my favorite Vancouvers. Sliders. If you ever watch Sliders, that's a classic one. Lots of Vancouver in that. I mean, like Jerry O'Connell. Man, oh man. Do you guys remember Sliders? Man, Sliders and Stargate. I don't know. I mean, Vancouver is all about, basically sci-fi dystopia and weird butthole sphincter-like openings. I'm just saying. We don't judge. But Hollywood North, you guys come up here, you put together your fancy productions, and all of them have giant anus-like sphincter doorways. It is what it is. Isn't Vancouver about snow now? The snow's gone. We're over snow. Sorry. Sorry. Nine class, you're like 3 days behind. We had the snow. We were miserable. Everything. Citizen Volker's like, anuses, sphincters, sci-fi, I'm in. But yeah, yay, absolutely. So here's the deal. If you weren't here on Thursday night for Full Force Radio, I kind of updated you guys. So we had the snow. We got crushed under the snow. It was compacted into deadly ice. We had the terrible, terrible cold air and horrible weather. Do you bring the butter? God. That didn't take long. It did not take long to go from sphincters to butter and greasing and sliding and just, man, I know better. I should know better. I do know better. It's fine. It's a loud and passive aggressive tea sip right there. Coffee sip right there. Read the mug. So yes, the weather happened. It was cold. We couldn't go outside. It was brutal. Then we had the wind damage. Then we had the wave damage. Everything got completely broken up. Everything was destroyed. And then we have an atmospheric river again. So what that means is, remember how we had flooding before we had the snow? Well, okay, that happened. But then we got the snow and everything else. We have the flooding again now. So we have, not only do we have more snow than we've ever had, and it's melting, we now have the atmospheric river rain, which is more rain than we could possibly handle. And you've got to you've got to combine them together, and now we're flooding again. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. Entire cities in the interior are under evacuation watch because the rivers are so swollen, but they're also filled with giant ice flows, which has never really happened before either. It's highly, highly bad. And so, yeah, Lamb is saying over in Alberta, you guys do -30. You guys do snow all the time. And so, Lamb, I mean, you were here when we talked about it, but I will just throw it out there. Like, hey, Marco, good to see you. Here's the deal. Other places in Canada get this weather more frequently and have infrastructure built around it. And the problem with Vancouver is we don't get this frequently. This is really, really out of the ordinary. This is like kind of first time in 50, 100 years kind of stuff. And so the problem is we didn't do a good job preparing for this very small, but still possible eventuality. Yes, exactly. Lamb's saying it's not about how much snow you get. It's how prepared a city is for dealing with snow. The reality is it's not actually super, super viable for every city here to have a huge maintained fleet of snowplows or to keep giant stocks of brine or sand or whatever. There's a lot of reasons. And a lot of them are financial, let's be realistic. Some of it's mismanaged, but The reality is a lot of it is just, this is so out of the norm for us, so out of the norm that the resources we have stretched so thin and snapped. And it's not just the snow. It's the snow that comes after the ice that is dropping off bridges and smashing cars, that is knocking down power lines. It's felling trees. BC is full of beautiful old growth trees. Everywhere is covered in heavy, wet, slushy ice rain that is basically collapsing things. We have nowhere to put the snow. Yes, snow removal is very expensive. We don't have temperatures that drop this low, and we're quite humid. We're on the water, and we've got, so it was this combination of things, because we already had flooding. The Coquihalla Highway largely destroyed. Entire places like Abbotsford and Richmond underwater. Like a chunk of the Trans-Canada Highway that goes from the west coast to the east coast, literally underwater completely. And so there's just a lot, and it's kind of been going on for a couple of months now. And admittedly, Vancouver hit the wall. Vancouver didn't do a great job. So here we are again. The snow is completely melted. It's a beautiful sunny day here today. But I live in a city that is surrounded by dikes. I live between a river and the Indian Arm and the mountains. And so when I go out and walk the dogs right now, areas that should be sort of grassy areas or trees are actually still under like a foot of water. It's kind of crazy. But we're keeping on. I'm here. We're fine. You're fine. We're all fine here now. Did you guys get hit with the tsunami today? No. We got the tsunami warning, but the reality is it will probably not even, it will probably not do anything. It will probably make some of our tides and the currents at tide a little bit stronger. But I mean, yeah, everybody's just hoping that we get either buried under snow or blown away. Listen, let me just have a nice start to 2022. I don't wish clones or snow or slippery butter sphincters on you guys. Be nice here in the chat, okay? So we are coming up on the first hour of the show gone, and literally all we've talked about is Arnold and clones and snow and some Hive stuff, but that's fine. It's fine. We're fine. Oh, Kitty Girl shared a cool picture of the Trans-Canada Highway. Very neat. So I'm going to play a little bit more music. So one of the things that we mentioned there, Clay brought up, hey, Dance with the Dead. There is a new Dance with the Dead album, and it is excellent. It's called Driven to Madness, and this is the first. Is that the only road in Canada? Snarky. You guys are dicks today. I love it. Hey, Gabe, good to see you. So here's the deal. We've got Arnold kicking in chat. Otto, thank you. Yes. And you know what? We are so lucky that not that many people in BC perished, which is awesome. I know that sounds ridiculous, but yeah. Hold on. Before we get to clone holes, let's just throw it out here. If you look up, and you're welcome to, you look up the town of Lytton, it's basically gone. If you look up the Coquihalla Highway, there were, hey, Codeman Deluxe, what up? If you look up basically the Coquihalla Highway, there were a number of deadly slides. I think about 8 people died overall. And this was just with the flooding part. This was before the snow, before the ice, before the freezing, before the collapse of a bunch of stuff, before the wind and the wave damage after the low temperatures. We're really lucky. I don't think we even hit double digits people dead, which is awesome, frankly. I mean, it's not awesome that anybody died, but all considered, most of us were really safe. It was really inconvenient, but it's a great reminder that, wow, if this went on much longer than it did, we would not be super prepared for it. And it's funny because if you look at a map of BC, and I'll try and find one, outside of where we all live, right down kind of tucked up against the US border and tucked up against the water, then there's mountains. And those mountains go on essentially to the top of the world. That's it. Fucking mountains. And the people that live close to those mountains or through the passes in those mountains or in the interior, snow, they know snow. They're fine. They know cold. -30, yeah, they're like Albertans. They're like fine. Totally fine. But that little strip that delicate little strip right along the US border where almost the entirety of the Canadian population lives. Not quite as good. All right. So, in any case, let's do this. I wanted to play you guys some new Dance with the Dead, and the album is called Driven to Madness. Now, if you've been to this show before, you'll know I'm a Dance with the Dead fangirl. They are West Coast boys. I think they're from California. And so I've seen them live a ton. They are just like two cool dudes making cool music. But the cool thing about this album is they have a third dude now. Before, it used to be two dudes with heavy metal guitars, loop pedals, and synthesizers. And they made awesome, like, slightly shreddy synthwave dance music. This album, they decided, fuck it, we are also, we're gonna get a live drummer. So rather than doing drum loops and synth drums, we are going to do some Dance with the Dead, brand new. It's off a brand new album. If you were watching, I did indeed drop the tour poster. I'll put it one more time. They are going to be touring. They are worth your time to go see. Magic Sword is so fun. This show is going to be fucking amazing. Highly recommended. I'm going to play something brand new off this album called Nebula, since we talk about space a lot here. And on Full Force Radio on Thursday, we were talking about Sean Connery in the movie Outland, which is a Western in space. And we spent a bunch of time talking about Westerns and space and ridiculous shit like that. So why not? We'll have it, bleed over into CyberBuzz today. And when we come back, we will talk a little bit more, probably about cloning and dystopian sci-fi around Vancouver. I have some bad VR and bad video game inventions to show you, and we can talk about whatever you guys want. I've also got lots more music. So, Synthwave, fun. Sphincters, not attached to the human body, but yes, attached to portals in, like, hallways in outer space stations. Fuck it. Listen to some Dance with the Dead. God, this show. What is this show? of just kicking guitars, man. And if you've ever seen Dance with the Dead live, I can fully like confirm that the two of them just get up on stage, pull out guitars, and just blow your fucking face off. It is really guitar centric, and it's synthwave. That is quite funny. But with that being said, let's kind of move into let's move into the second half of the show. We were talking a little bit about the sixth day. We were talking about how cloning was this giant, scary thing in the 2000s. We had cloned a sheep, and everybody was talking, people will be next. It's going to be a whole thing. You know, we're going to clone a fully grown human, and they're going to have identical memories, and it just died. It just died. We worked through that issue. And so if you remember last week, we were talking about how sci-fi is often a way that we work through some of our deepest fears, but in a way that we can be like, oh, it's fun and entertainment. But meanwhile, we're also like, oh God, these are the things that terrify us. That's sort of how trends in entertainment go. So we did the thing. We had the Arnold movie about cloning, so forth, so on, etc. And then it just died. So we've moved on to being scared about VR, being scared about the metaverse, being scared about how NFTs are going to burn up the planet. There's lots of stuff that we have talked about on this show, probably almost to death, to be quite honest, that are sort of this next iteration of techno-dystopian fear, right? But so one of the things that I was going to show you guys is, you know, VR, it's so funny because if you think about Ready Player One, and you think about some of these takes on virtual reality as, you know, terror control instrument, or, you know, NFT is going to burn the planet. You miss this. Yeah, Uncle Bonehead, you come sporadically, but still to this day, you know, people try to quantify things. As humans, we struggle to understand and imagine things. We have good imaginations, but it's very hard to link the things that we imagine to a tangible understanding of a concept. The way that humans learn. Your name is something. What is your name? Elbursuck. Lebursuk. I'm going to call you Suck. Is that rude? Maybe I'll just call you Burr. I'm happy to have you either way. Thanks for rocking up. So here's the deal. We struggle. The way that humans learn is very interesting. We move from the concrete to the abstract. It is a constant journey from one to the other. We have to have something in a concrete, more sort of physical, tangible way. And as we gain an understanding of it, then we move towards an abstraction of that concept. It's just how people work. So if we kind of think of NFTs and we think of art and we think of environmental damage and understanding, we have to kind of connect these things. NFTs destroying the planet is a very abstract concept. I'm pretty sure that somewhere, somehow, the creation of an NFT hurts the earth, but I don't get how. We have to have a concrete example to kind of help us with that. And so Uncle Bonehead, we won't go too deep into it, but the idea is somebody said, okay, well, let me take an example amount of energy from a Bitcoin miner. Let me take that energy, or from an Ethereum miner. Let me take that, and then let me take that number, and let me look up on the internet what that energy would be the equivalent to. And so they took a random number from a random server working for a random amount of time. And I'm pretty sure they picked like one of the sort of like hash consortiums from Bitcoin. They grabbed it. I'm sorry, vulgar. They grabbed it and they were like, okay, well, this is a lot of energy. And so they looked it up on the internet and they were like, it turns out that if you needed to run a Mack truck for 62 years, that's kind of how much energy this would take. Okay, therefore, an NFT is kind of like if we took this truck and we ran this truck to space 16 times and back. That's how much this NFT costs. Oh my God, how many NFTs are out there? That's how many trucks we're sending to space. Oh my God. Oh my God. And thus, the absolute insanity around NFTs were born. Now, I don't want to get into this topic again. I've had a couple of interviews and chats about it on other shows and with other sort of podcasters and other platforms. But the reality is of course, that is brutally flawed thinking. Brutally flawed. And it's really hard to help people understand when that's sort of the prevalent narrative that's pushed in the media. But Ron is right. Nobody's even considering this, sending trucks into space. Space trucking. That's fucking awesome. I want to be a space trucker. Let's do it, right? Yeah, exactly. It is. It's the next big Stephen King novel. Agreed. We're going to have the song. We're going to have a dirty bass line, and it's just going to be, come on. Come on. And we're all going to launch ourselves into space in like Optimus Prime. I'm here for it. Let's do it. Fuck it. There is a space trucker movie. Doesn't even surprise me. As I was, yes, space trucks filled with NFTs, right? Absolutely. My idea of a space trucking movie, like I'm going to show my age, which is not even that old, would be like Armageddon, when they send all the like rough and tumble, like drilling dudes up in a spaceship I don't know. Is that Space Trucker could be a Deep Purple song. Yeah, it's weird, eh? They could almost, that sounds like something they would do, for sure. Absolutely. Funny. Tarsico. Oh, Lord. Okay, so, let's try to get back on track. I don't think it'll happen, but let's give it a shot. Oh, it's a Steven Dorff movie because Kitty Girl is so great at finding references. She's found space truckers. It is a Steven Dorff movie, and I feel like that kind of just... Dennis Hopper and Steven Dorff. And it was filmed in Ireland. Boy. Wow. In 1996. Okay, well... I don't know if that's the peak of the show right there, but oh boy. Let's try and rein this fucker in and get back on track. So one of the things that we've talked about a lot on this show, and that this show is kind of tangentially about, is about chat's ridiculous today, is about virtual reality. And so we've had sort of this set of polarizing views on virtual reality, and that some people are really scared of it, and that, they're going to get totally lost in it. And some people are really worried that it's actually, it's actually turns out it's fucking boring as hell. And so bot died or Crim died. Well, it ain't Crim, friends. What can I say? So, oh gosh. So you guys don't worry about it. You got lots of places you can hang out. Thank you, Patient Zero, for sharing the link. But the reality is virtual reality is this interesting, bizarre topic that keeps on giving. And so we're speaking of Canadians, and we're speaking of small town people, and we're speaking of, things we're scared of and all the rest. I thought I would share something for you. And I would like to show you, and I would like to present to you, without comment, one of the most entertaining Kickstarters I've ever seen. So I'm going to throw that in chat here, and we'll see what you guys think about this, since we were talking about making virtual reality more immersive. Let me throw this Kickstarter up in the chat. It's called the VR Saddle. And so, at this time of looking at it, it's out of Florida. Take from that what you will. It's mean. It shouldn't be mean. He needs $18,000. He currently has $6 from 5 backers. There's 24 days left to go. And this gentleman has created what looks like the adult Jolly Jumper. I don't know if you guys can see this. It is essentially a Jolly Jumper hanging from the ceiling with an odd adaptation of like a horse/bicycle saddle. And it's amazing. So I kind of want to show you guys this. Check this out.
Hello, this is the VR saddle. This is the way I want to play virtual reality games. I want to be able to stand up while being held in place without being worried about hitting anything, while at the same time being able to run in a game. To be immersed in the game to where I feel like I can move around anywhere, even while having little room to work with in the real world.
He's not wrong, but there's something about this. There's something about this, this particular image that just, okay. So here's this really nice gentleman. He wants to charge you $128 to buy a Jolly Jumper and then put a saddle on it. I don't know why this is so funny, but I found this earlier and I'm like, I get this guy. I get it. Chat's losing it now too. Everybody's like, I'm pretty sure I got one of these and it's not that. And so I just, I was thinking about this and there's a lot. There's a lot that this guy maybe hasn't taken into consideration here because he's not. Oh, okay. He's bought what looks like some ratcheting straps from Home Depot and what might be like a large banana bike seat. And he's just got them hanging there together from what looks like a pull-up bar from his ceiling. And I have a lot of questions about this. I have a lot of questions. So many questions. Okay. Whew. So, given that everybody else sees exactly what this... Oh, God. I can't look at... Every time I'm looking at the picture of him on screen and I'm losing it. And I'm like, I feel bad. I shouldn't be making fun of this guy. He's solving a real problem. It's a prototype. I know, Bill. I know, Marco. I know it is, but it just, look at him. Look at him. So, I mean, okay, I just can't look at him so we could talk about this. Okay. So here's the deal. I get it. We need peripherals like this because it turns out that VR actually can get kind of boring because of the way that you can borrow your saddle, ride on Ron's digital saddle. Okay. Where I was going with this is VR, despite being able to take you to any world, any place, any reality, any activity, anytime, anywhere, in existence or out of existence, you are still confined by space. And it is still difficult for a lot of people to move around in this fashion. So he has solved, I'm hesitant to say this solves it, but here's the idea of a low-tech, affordable peripheral that will allow you to run. And I mean, like when he's doing the like snap, like So here's the thing that I am very concerned about this gentleman, and maybe he hasn't spent a lot of time thinking about, is that there are devices like this on the market. They may not be for virtual reality unless it's just you, in which case maybe it is. But these devices do exist at home. Suspension devices. They do exist. And a lot of people get into a lot of trouble with them. A lot of people get really hurt with stuff like this because they don't think about what your house can actually support and how to anchor an item like this. And it's actually not just weight bearing. It is the fact that if you expect to be moving, which whether or not your other suspension item may be, in VR, you will be. The whole point of this item is to be constantly moving, to allow you freedom of movement. Now, I don't know. I'm not the scienciest, as you may have noticed, but there are a lot of forces that come into play here. Swinging and jerking and things like that all exert force in a direction that just hanging weight from may not be enough. So I'm kind of concerned that a bunch of people, although at this point, looking at the Kickstarter, maybe not so much, since he's got $6 Canadian, which is approximately 14 cents US plus a button, or maybe like a really pretty colored pebble. It's probably it's probably not going to be an issue. But I saw this and I thought, oh boy, I need to share this. So I just thought that you guys might be entertained.
I wanted to install this accessory in my own bedroom, so I popped my head up into the attic to see which direction the studs were in. After that, I got the general idea. I grabbed the stud finder and located the studs with the help of a piece of cardboard. I proceeded to screw a mount to the ceiling, which holds the tube with the straps. This tube can spin 360 degrees. It's held to the ceiling with a pin and can easily be removed to be put away. Game developers...
Look at him! He's doing some fucking mid-air aerial acrobatics like this is like some fucking Cirque du Soleil bullshit. Oh, okay. So, I'm just saying. Yeah, you know what? When you need to hang your suspension device that may be subject to jerking forces, you should find a stud. You should have a stud finder. And I hope you find a stud. All of you. I wish a stud unto you. Okay. I need a second. I just need a second. Because he's so cute. He's like filming this. He's so excited. He put this in his bedroom. He's made it out of fucking PVC pipe from Home Depot. He's living his best life. I don't know if you guys can't see. If you're just listening, you need to imagine this guy hanging from what looks like a jolly jumper made of painters from the ceiling in a fucking Matrix, like with Carrie-Anne Moss Trinity Matrix Jesus pose, spinning around while the music goes, oh. I'm gonna die. Oh, CyberBuzz. You are gonna learn things on CyberBuzz. Okay, I need a second before we move into the last bit of the show and this becomes maybe useful or entertaining again. Okay, let's play some music. I'm gonna play you some Wave Shaper. I really love Wave Shaper. Yeah, before this guy, VR sucked. It sucked. I'm gonna play you guys some Wave Shaper. I'm gonna play a little bit of a longer track. I'm gonna play a track called A Sense of Something. Since we all have a sense of what's going on now, and that is, instead of talking about the Hive application framework, about the moral and ethical issues around cloning, instead of all of the sort of sci-fi, dystopian, techno stuff we were going to talk about, we've been talking about buttered sphincter openings and suspension devices in your bedroom. So let's calm down and regain a sense of something. Wave Shaper, a new remix by Canapé Lee, literally just released this week on Friday, and I'm going to take a minute to compose myself. And when we come back, we can talk more about what you guys want to, or we can continue down the other path, which is terrible, terrible video game peripheral inventions. And both of those things are covered under CyberBuzz because I said so, goddammit. It's my show, and sometimes it's not going to be very useful. And that is today. CyberBuzz Radio. There's an excellent chance that at least one of these streams will be taken down from a mainstream platform, because somehow we went from talking about clones and the moral and ethical aspects of clones that came up at the turn of the century, which we can say now because of the 2000s, and we started off talking about a continuation from last week's show where we were talking about, movies essentially filmed in Vancouver and sci-fi dystopias. And we were talking about how, city design is often sort of evolved and is an analog for future cities all over the world. Vancouver just really has that vibe. Vancouver apparently is a very future retro kind of city. And so it started off today's show where we were talking a little bit about an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called The Sixth Day from around the beginning of the 2000s. And it's Arnold, and Arnold's a clone, and Arnold meets a clone of himself, and then there's two Arnolds, and then it's a whole thing, and it's all filmed in Vancouver, and it's beautiful. And we were talking a little bit about that. And yeah, there actually is a point where there is an awkward moment in The Sixth Day where he kind of looks at his clone and they look at each other and they share this little like bromance moment. And you're like, oh no, no. There's definitely a moment like that. But so today's show has spiraled out of control because what I really was just going to do was share some more cool like sci-fi Vancouver references with you guys and, show you some of our cool buildings. And so that kind of went out the window. We did spend a little bit of time talking about some Hive topics, which was going over some of the differences between Hive in a box, Hive application framework, some of the reasons that the Hive application framework is being created by block trades and teams, some of the goals behind that. So we talked about something valuable for like 14 seconds. And then we jumped back in. And so I thought somehow I would show you guys a VR invention, because obviously I stumbled across it and we were talking about VR on the show very often. It's an important part of sort of retro future tech. And, in the chat, isn't there a Vancouver in Washington State as well? Yes, because Captain Vancouver basically came floating in a boat all the way up the motherfucking coastline, and he made a bunch of stops. There's a lot of Vancouvers, and that is because there was a dude called Captain Vancouver. Okay? All right. Oh, Gabe, your new work is awesome. So here's the deal. So I was showing you this VR thing because one of the things I was going to kind of get into is we talk about VR on this show a lot. And it's very interesting because some aspects of VR are terrifying, because we were talking about how science fiction often explores our deepest fears as humans. Science fiction is a way for us to create a technological future that encapsulates the things that scares us. And that's really fun. It's often really good to be able to say, okay, let's think up the craziest story we can. Let's make it lasers and space and clones and sphincters. And, that's how you contextually frame and understand the things that scare you. You work through, what is humanity gonna do? How are we going to solve it? How do we feel about it? Vancouver and Mexico City have an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I mean, he's all over the place. Arnie got around, for reals. But, so, bye, Bonehead. So the reason I brought this up is I was going to say, hey, here's the deal. Like, this came up and it made me laugh pretty fucking hard. And you guys in the chat are talking about the Virtual Boy and some of the other stuff. Yeah, in the 80s, the late 80s, and even the early 90s, VR was already on people's minds. And remember, there were movies from that time period. There were peripherals from that time period. There were a number of attempts to create virtual reality then. And we've talked about on this show some of the precursors to true cyberpunk, William Gibson and some of the first forays into taking some of that type of work into movies. We talked a little bit about Neuromancer the other day and Johnny Mnemonic. And so that's fine. But we came back to this VR thing and I lost my shit a little bit and I couldn't continue. But I did want to put this out there because now that I'm slightly composed after that great last track, that Wave Shaper track, if you like Synthwave, if you're not sure if you like Synthwave, if you like some of the sounds on Tron, yes, Tron the, Tron, Jason, it's so good to see you. Tron the property, not Tron the blockchain, because fuck that blockchain. But so here's the deal. Before the break, I was showing you this peripheral for VR, this suspension saddle, if you will. And so I'm just going to put this out there that I'm going to put this up on the screen again now because I couldn't tell you because I was laughing too hard. And so what I'm going to do is we have a giant picture of my own face there. I'm going to show you what's going on here in this Kickstarter because he's actually got 5 backers and he has $6. Now, what does that tell you? It's the majority of his backers have pledged $1. And so if you go and you go down in the comments, if we go to the comments section and we come down here, there is, if we go to here, somebody just said, "Oh my God, as someone who builds houses, I can honestly say that not all studs and joists will be able to support all weights. Maybe do something better than a toddler's play swing." And this creator answered, "Well, as someone who bought a house, you should build better houses. Try paying attention. This isn't for all weights, so tell your wife she can't use this." He made a "your mama's so fat" joke. Or "your wife is so fat" joke. Whew. So, absolutely nailing the advertising of this particular item. Oh, and so kind of rude as a creator to be insulting your backers and their significant others if you're wanting people to back your product. And because of that, he answered, "Yo, when my potential customers want me to roast them, I deliver. The dude wanted a roasting battle, lol. I don't know. I thought I had a witty reply to his burn. He isn't even a backer. To be fair, there is a tiny bit of swing, but the tubing eliminates most of it. New reward added, $1, and I'll be ready to roast battle fools in the comments." And so if you go to fund this campaign, you can give him $1, and it's roast battle me in the comments. $1 to support the project funding and get access to roast battle me in the comment section of this project. I will only roast those whose speech is basically asking for it. I will leave 1 roast reply, and if I'm really feeling it, I'll leave a second. Oh, man. So that's the end of that saga. Okay. All right. Whew. This dude's EP is gargantuan. I mean, technically, I guess we could, let's just see if we go back. I mean, the amount of bouncing around in this fucking harness that he's got going on. I mean, maybe it is.
See the potential to be able to move.
Look at him go. Oh yeah, look at him swimming.
Instead of walking with our hands, we walk with our feet. Using full body.
Okay, I'm just skipping through now because pretty much everybody he puts in this harness.
The freedom on the playground of sitting on a swing. And
there's a lot of EP-ing, let's put it this way, in this particular harness design. Okay, let's we're done with that here. So Gabe says, "I'm just here to say fuck VR." And again, today's show wasn't really supposed to be about that. And I know, I get it. We have a lot of philosophical discussions on this show. I love VR. I think it's really entertaining. There's so many interesting, cool things that you can do with it. And I think there are a lot of reasons, both fun and practical, that VR is going to become very, very entrenched in our lives. We've had entire shows where we talk about the sort of design of interface. And we talk about how, there are a lot of jobs that could actually be really improved by necessarily kind of taking aspects of that job and putting them into something like an augmented reality interface. And, there's lots of reasons why this is cool. But at the same time, I'm also a very outdoor, self-sovereign, freedom-minded person. And so there are parts of me which battle with different aspects of virtual reality, but it's coming whether we like it or not. It's coming. Speaking of Arnold. But so, I think there are some really valuable parts of it. And probably one of my favorite things, and this is very off topic, but since we're here now, I can say wholeheartedly that if you ever watch, I think it's a documentary on the Fire Festival, but there's a guy who's down in like the Caymans or whatever, and probably there are more of these guys than we know of, but he's in this documentary and he's talking about how he got his entire flight training to fly a plane. Now he flies a plane for a living. His entire flight training was done in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Entire thing. He's like, it's very good. It's exactly like being in the simulators that they put real pilots in who are training for large airlines. It's fine. I did it for like 6 years. I know how to fly a plane now. And now he does. That's what he does. Is he's down in like the Caymans, flying people around, and he's trained himself on Microsoft Flight Simulator. So let's move away from VR for a second. Now that we've talked about this guy's gigantic e-penis and his swinging saddle of doom. But there are some things that, video games in general, they're always looking for being more immersive, right? That's sort of the idea of playing games or creating experiences. I mean, and we've talked about the design of experiences, and we've talked about future design on this show a lot. But one of the things that does kind of come up is that I want my entertainment to be entertainment. I want it to provide me with something that I can't necessarily do otherwise. I am in my office at current. There is nothing here. I'm in the house, and I decide I want to climb a mountain right now, and I have a game called The Climb. And I will say, sometimes when I am stuck inside because of weather or meetings or whatever, but I need sort of a sense of being outside, I will use VR. And isn't that kind of both scary and awesome in that there is, just outside my window where you guys can't see, an expanse of mountains and forests and rivers and the valley just straight on into forever, just in front of me. But there are times where I'm here in my house, like right now, talking to you guys, where I can't be out there for whatever reason. And there is an ache in my heart. It is very interesting because I know there are a lot of people who will say, well, it's not the same, and it's not. But I do actually find there are times where I need to either meditate, I need to center, I need some outdoor space. And for one reason or another, whether it's the dogs can't go out, or I'm waiting for a call, or, I've got something boiling on the stove, or whatever the case may be, and I want to go out, or I need some of that kind of centering, there are a couple different games that I use. One of them is called VR Nature Treks, and it has a sort of of course, it's a simulacra, absolutely, but it's not necessarily about a replacement game. And this is one of the things that I think I think this is a mindset that people who are interested in VR cultivate. So we'll see what you guys think about this. You absolutely know fully and wholeheartedly that it's not real, but there's this amazing thing that your brain does, and your brain takes this stimulus and this input, and it just gives it something more. And so the reality is I know that I'm not outside, but there is a part of my heart that says, okay, but right now what I need to be doing, have you tried visualizing? Of course, Gabe, I am not saying that people need to go into VR instead of meditating. Of course. I am a world traveler. I'm a photographer. I climb mountains. I spend time in the woods. I go off grid very often. I totally understand. It's fine. But there are times where, for whatever reason, the easiest thing for me, and a thing that can fit whatever need I have at the moment, totally works. That's it. And so this Nature Treks VR, some of it is quite ugly, but there are two levels in particular that I find are very useful. One being, I've spent enough time out in the mountains in snow. In snow, there's a lot of preparation. If you live somewhere like Australia, this is probably a little less relevant to you. But if you've ever had to go cold weather or snow hiking, that is hard. It can be expensive. You may have to travel a long, long way. You need a lot of gear. You need preparation. Snow is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Let's use this as a good example. But one of the most amazing, perfect experiences is to sit in an open valley while the snow is falling softly, and to see sort of a hazy, snow-misted ring of mountains, and to hear that sort of hiss that comes with fresh falling snow, and to just sit and listen to the wind whistle through the valley, and to watch these snowflakes kind of react to it. There is something so in touch with nature. But for a lot of people, this is not an experience that you can just go have. It's just not. Is virtual reality a replacement for that? Absolutely not. But is there something? Is this a tool that you can use to kind of just settle yourself and have an experience that you wouldn't be able to safely otherwise? Absolutely. And so that is something that I can do. And often after the show is over, I'm so jazzed up. I'm so in the space. I'm so in the moment. My heart, my mind, and my everything is racing because I put everything into this. Sometimes, if I can't immediately go outside, I will grab this, I'll sit. And there are many times that I meditate without it. I think people are very worried that like every second that I spend away from doing these shows or streaming with you guys is like spent in virtual reality, when nothing could be further from the truth. But there is absolutely valuable aspects of entertainment to VR and valuable aspects of training to VR. And much as Citizen Vulgar is saying, and much as I kind of repeat on this channel, teaching sort of media literacy around virtual reality is really all that's needed. And finding ways of using it, expressing it, getting entertainment out of it that fills a small fulfillable need without making a replacement for something crucial in your life, like a connection to real people or to the actual outdoors. That's the part that we have to do. And so it's too easy to say, VR is bad. Nobody should do it. Bleh, bad VR. Because the people then who like VR are going to feel ostracized. They're going to feel totally alienated. And they're going to dive in further, and they're going to hold on tighter, and they're going to feel like they're being attacked for no reason. And this is a very human reaction. When somebody tells you the thing you like is trash and you're trash, and my way is better and whatever, healthier and more natural. It's true. In a lot of ways, it's absolutely true. But this is kind of like when boomers tell millennials, if you just stop buying avocado toast, you can buy a house. Fuck off. If you just stopped spending so much money on coffee, you could buy a house. There's truth there. There's absolute truth there. But think for a second of that sort of absolute, abject fucking vanity that would have to come out of your mouth as a boomer who bought their house, for $20,000 after working 1 year at the first job they got out of high school. Like, there's something about the way that we have to talk to people about new tech, whether it's VR, blockchain. How many of us have seen the pushback against blockchain? Because somebody is like, well, I heard only criminals use it. And it's like driving trucks to space. Fuck you. You can't turn around to them and say, well, it's going to get rid of the government and it's going to help us create better peer-to-peer value systems, and it's going to make it so that big bankers can't actually fuck us with non-transparent accounting behind the scenes, losing all our money to, terrible schemes that get funneled up to the elite. You can't do that. That's not how it works. And it's the same thing with VR. So often we think, okay, well, there are some really scary aspects to VR. There are some problems, like people are going to get lost in this. Boomers aren't allowed to talk. Okay, fair. But you know what I mean? So there is this sort of human nature reaction when you tell someone you can't, oh no, have you just tried visualizing? And I know why you're asking me, Gabe, and this is not an attack on you. I think this is such an interesting topic. When you turn around and you say, well, here's somebody talking about a thing that they enjoy. And then you say, well, have you tried visualizing? Well, have you just done some deep breathing meditation exercises? It's a little bit the same. And so the sort of spin-off aspect of that is, how do you talk to somebody about technology use in a way that helps them build up healthy relationships around that technology. And it's a tricky thing to do. And you're right, there are going to be a lot of people who are unhealthy with it, but I do find it really interesting because, I'm putting this out there as like, okay, one of my favorite things to do in that VR nature treks, there's two environments. There's one that is a dark beach at night next to a lighthouse, and you can sit anywhere, you can stand anywhere, you can walk around. But so sitting just on the edge in the surf, but I'm not cold. I'm not, getting water lapping at my feet and sand in my vagina. Just sitting there, breathing, watching the stars overhead, a touch of the aurora, which unfortunately in most cities people cannot see. And most people don't get the chance to fly off to Iceland like I did or go to Alaska. Like for a lot of people, these are experiences that you want to have, but you can't. And that kind of thing it's okay to let yourself enjoy some of these with the understanding that it's not real. Sure. So there's that one. I sit at night on the edge of the beach for like 10 minutes. I hear the waves. I sit under this dark shadow of a lighthouse. You can see hints of animals moving in the background. The stars wheel overhead. There is a touch of the aurora, and it is dark and it is quiet. And there is this repetitive white noise of waves. It's very, very nice. It's very nice. Oh God. Okay. Yes. Clay, grab as many different types of links as you can, and I will add them instantaneously. And I will have that. So here's the deal. Okay. We're going to take a quick pause on this exact, moment here. We're going to come back. I'm going to play you guys a track called Wiretap by Crockett. I am going to quickly grab some links from Clay. I'm going to do some quick stuff on Crimbo. I'm going to try and do some quick code, and we will come back and we will finish up the show. Today has been fun and all over the place. Anything you guys want to talk about after we come back. But since we're talking about creepy government interference and monitoring and the issues of VR and scary things in technology, and God damn it, we need some more synthwave. Here's a track by Crockett off an album called The Heist. My name is Crimson Clad. Stick around. We got, 15 minutes left in the show? Let's do it. All right, there you go. Good stuff. So in the background, I'm just rewriting some Crimbot code here to catch these new links. I've got 2 or 3 that I've added. I'm just getting them all uploaded and restarting Crimbo. And in theory, everything should be A-okay shortly after that. So with that being said, we are coming up towards the end of the show today. And we will just see what we can do here and try and save some of the issues. So here's the deal. And this is actually something that's worth bringing up on the show, and I will mention it. So right now, Discord is a fast growing communication method for a lot of people. And part of that is because it's community building. And many of you today are chatting in the Discord, or you actually even listen to MSP Waves, our radio station, our broadcasting network, via Discord. And so unfortunately, what is happening is Discord, there's such a thing as Discord Nitro, and you can be gifted Discord Nitro by somebody else. And Discord often does actually gift subscriptions themselves. And so the problem becomes that someone creates a fake link to a phishing page, they get your Discord credentials, and then your account becomes a legitimate bot, part of a botnet. So it's not just that your account is part of it, then there are custom created accounts that are specifically meant to spread this link. And so this happens a lot. And so Splinterlands is seeing it, but you're going to see it, especially if you are located in Hive related or social network types of Discords. And part of that is because if there are people like we know, like Landmower or like Crazy Poet, or people who we trust and know who have their Discord accounts hacked, they're in all the same Discords as us. And that link spreads like wildfire. So you have botnets who are dumping these links. You have people who are maybe not paying quite enough attention, click the link, their account gets compromised, and then they go out to all their community trusted servers, and then they spread the link as well. So if you are listening, watching, and many of you are hanging around, if you see in a Discord link, things like that, if you find a phishing link, please don't click on it. But if it looks weird, if it looks funny, if it looks too good to be true, if it's something that is free in a link, please collect it and send it to me in a DM. I run a bot that specifically filters on most of the servers that you're in, frankly. It specifically filters out these phishing links, immediately deletes the link, and bans the user right out of the Discord. Just smashes them right out the door. So since we are seeing an uptick in this, and it's probably going to continue for the next little bit, if you see a new link, please send it to me. I will happily add it to the big list of fuckers to smash, and Crimbo will kind of have this fun time destroying assholes. All right, so with all that being said, we are now into the very, very back end of the show. We have had a day today, friends. We have a number of different topics that we have traversed today, shall we say. We started off talking a little bit about Vancouver as an analog for tech cities all over the world and familiar sites in Vancouver, BC's. Yeah, man. And it's funny, Nine Claws, because in the background, whenever she bans someone, she calls them a rude name. Yep. So please, if you have a Discord that you need her in, if you're having these attacks or experiences, please let me know and I will help you. I will put her in there. But so here is the array of insults that she currently has. I probably need some more, but I'll show you. So this might get us in trouble. But so when she dumps somebody and they leave the server, she actually calls them a rude name on the way out the door while she bans them. Insults such as douche canoe, twat waffle, shit whistle, fuck stick, fuck trumpet, shit given, butt plug, all sorts of things. So she calls them some rude names, she bans them immediately and deletes all their messages before anyone can see them. She is, she's my little mini-me. She's my little mini-me. Okay, so now that we are here towards the end of this show, we talked a little bit about Vancouver as an analog for all tech cities ever, and how it's used in pretty much all sorts of dystopian sci-fi productions, and that Vancouver in general is this really pretty place. She loves when I curse. You cockwomble, you. So ASMR getting banned off Twitch with Crim. So we talked about that. We talked about the 6th day a little bit. We talked about human cloning, ethical and moral reasons, which immediately just descended into madness because we started talking about Arnold, and then we started talking about cloning, and then somehow we started talking about how everything, I don't know, somebody started talking about my butter, and then we started talking about how every opening on every like sci-fi spaceship, spaceport, space station is basically like a sphincter. And that there's a lot of things that look like buttholes in space, because of course we did. And then we came back, we talked a little bit about some Hive topics. We did indeed mention, we mentioned some stuff around the Hive application framework. We talked a little bit about Hive in a box. God, I can't talk. And then we also discussed some VR stuff in this last sort of bit of the show. I shared with you guys a delightful, yeah, that was exactly what we were talking about there, Avian. So this last little bit of the show has been this delightful sort of look at some random guy's VR immersive invention that he's trying to kickstart, that he's got about $4 donated to, and this magical video that he made, and this roast battle that he got into where he said to one of his backers that it's not weight rated for their wife. You guys saw me almost have an absolute meltdown because I couldn't even look at this guy. It was, listen, it was something. We had a time today, didn't we? We did. And Kitty Girl said, the real burning question of the game is, do pirates use VR? It's awful. That's so bad. That's dad levels of joke. I mean, at that point, it's either What's Up or Shane should have come busting into the room like the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah, dad jokes. Jesus. Oh, God. All right. So with that, we have to, yeah, exactly. Build better houses. Okay. Duh. Have you tried meditating? I'm sorry, Gabe. That feels like an attack. It's not an attack. I fucking love you. I love your perspective on things. It's a good-natured razzing. Maybe you should stop buying avocado toast and then you can buy a house that's better built. I don't know. Maybe you can put a sphincter door in too. God, get it together. Okay. So Jesus Christ. Whew. We're at the end of the show. It's literally almost over. So, couple things to to catch up on before it's all over. You will see me next on Thursday night for Full Force Radio. If you like heavy metal, if you like hard rock, if you like sassy pants McGee's, well, that's me, and that's what we do. So come back for Full Force Radio. You can go to fullforce.rocks to learn more about the show and find all the places you can watch it. Otherwise, I have created a Discord. I turned off the bot that spammed everybody to join it, but I am creating roles in there and sharing some of the stuff from the shows. I am, when I can't do posts, I will be sharing all the links, so including this Kickstarter. Everything will go in there. If you want to come hang out, let me know. I will share the invite, and we will try and build it into something of a little bit more of a bump in community. And then the last but not least, I will be back next week, and I think we will probably be moving back towards some more Hive topics as well. But if you have something you want to talk about, if you have a synthwave artist you love, if there's something around Hive that you just can't wrap your head around, if there's something that you guys want to talk about, let me know, and I will work it into a CyberBuzz show. There is a slight chance that I will be speaking at a conference next weekend. I will let you know ahead of time if that goes ahead and whether or not it's going to interfere with this show. But either way, if you need me, you can always shoot me a DM. I'm only like 100 DMs behind at any given time, but I do care and I will answer you. You can find me anywhere. So contact me. Let me know what you need. Otherwise, that's it for the day. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the music. I hope that none of you are salty about me being a little bit sassy. And I delightfully invite you back for another week of fuckery later on.